Okay, I am going to kick us off. So, again, thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. I hope that I know in many areas of our country, the heat is something certainly to keep in mind these days. I hope you're staying cool and safe wherever you might be. My name is Anna Hansinger, and I am the Vice President of Community Engagement at Internet 2. I'm also the principal investigator for the NSF awards that fund many of the activities for the Minority Serving Cyber Infrastructure Consortium. Welcome to our monthly all hands meeting. We're delighted that you could join us. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Next slide, please. So we have some exciting things to bring up today. I want to make some introductions and then hand it off to one of the people that I'm going to introduce. And this is what we're going to cover today. We have a great lineup. We have an incredible speaker, our guest, Frank Witherheim, that's going to be with us and kick us off with a short preview of the National Research Platform. And then we're going to give you some updates on things that the MSCC has been up to. So have a lot to cover. And let's go to the next slide. One quick housekeeping item. If you haven't heard us state this, MSCC, we moved a few months ago to a new system so that we can have more effective communications with our community. And as such, we're implementing this system. And we have noticed that as people get emails, you might have noticed a new look and feel for our emails. There's a couple of technical things that you might need to do in your email clients. This brings up an example in Gmail as something that we want to make sure that you're aware of. If you're using Outlook, you just need to trust the sender. But just make sure you know that our emails are legit, and we need you to just take some steps to make sure that they're getting to you as well. So thank you for taking care of that. If you run into any issues, please contact us. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm delighted that I get to seg now and introduce you to the newest member of our staff that just recently joined just less than 2 weeks ago as our new Director of Community Engagement. So Ms. Netta Caligari has joined us. I am delighted to not only introduce you to her, she's going to introduce herself in a little bit. And Netta joins us to support our community engagement activities. And that will include, the support for these meetings and many of the other activities that have to do with the engagement and community and building excitement about the things that we're doing through MSCC. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Netta, and she's going to be our MC from here on. Thank you again for joining us. And Netta, take it away and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Anna, for that introduction. As you mentioned, I am the new Director of Community Engagement. I've been in the higher ed space for quite a long time, and it's really been focused around community engagement, storytelling, communications, and just really how to uplift the voices and bring people together who are doing all of this really important work. So I kind of started off with the team as a consultant, helping with annual meeting. I know I interacted with several of you, and now I'm joining the team in a full-time capacity. So I'm really, really excited to be here. Please consider me a contact. Like, I'm kind of still working on getting up to speed, right, and getting settled into my role, but I want to hear from all of you. So if you've got thoughts, suggestions, feedback about workshops, meetings, webinars, anything that you have thoughts about that MSCC could get involved with, consider me a resource and a point of contact, and you'll be hearing a lot more from me here in the near future. But yeah, I just am really excited to be a part of this community. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to kind of take it from here, and we can go to the next slide. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off and introduce our main presenter for today. So we have Frank. Now, Frank, apologies if I mispronounce Wuthbein. Wuthbein?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
My students
tried my best.
just call me Frank.
Yeah, great, Frank. So he's the director of the San Diego Supercomputer Center and the principal investigator of the National Research Platform. And so he's going to be here today to just kind of give us an overview of NRP and discuss its goals of expanding access to high performance computing and advanced research infrastructure for the community. So this is really a conversation around what is possible for all of you and just kind of spur up some ideas of potential collaborations or resources that might be available. And so with that, we will go ahead and hand it over to Frank. And then later in the meeting, we will be talking through our student program and a wrap up of the annual meeting. All right, Frank, so I will hand it over to you.
Somebody has to turn sharing on, I think. I'm not allowed to, am I?
It should be allowed now.
Ah, yeah, now it is. Okay, here we go.
Okay, whoever
Can
just,
everybody see?
Oh, we're
Yeah.
muting now. Yep.
thank you.
And now, do you still see the right screen? Do you see it changing?
Yes.
We're seeing the presenter's view.
Yeah, we see the notes and everything.
Ah, you see the notes. Okay, so then let's see.
That looks good.
Frank, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Frank. Thank you.
And you can still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Listen numbers. Yep.
But I wanted to start by getting you oriented. Basically, I want to share my thought processes and so that you understand where I'm coming from. And so there's about 20 million students that attend college in the United States of America right now. There is a general sense that more and more students require computing and data inside the classroom, and that when we're talking about computing for academia, we're no longer just talking about research computing, but we're talking about computing in support of education. And the way that I justify, the way that I set for myself the scale, I start with the 20 million students that attend college. There's about 4,000 colleges in the United States. The San Diego State University, an institution nearby, did a survey of 8,000 of their undergrads, and 50% of their students said that they would like to see some sort of formal training in AI. If I then go to my own institution, the University of California, San Diego, last year in the academic year 24, we had 22% of all of our undergrads access data and compute inside the classroom for at least one course. If I then take either the 50% or the 22% and multiply by 20 million, I came to conclude that in the neighborhood of 4 to 10 million college students in the United States of America need data and compute resources for their classroom education. It's, in my mind, I will later on have somewhere with an example, one institution's example of where these students come from that need computing and data. And in my mind, it's a generic statement across all disciplines, but it is the AI revolution, and AI education is the accelerant. It's sort of the oil that gets poured into the fire in order to make this really blow up. Now, if you take this as a given in terms of scale, then you can ask yourself, who's going to pay for it and how are we going to pay for it? And my first statement is cloud is too expensive for academia, unless the NSF pays for it, pays the cloud bill. And given where we're at, the NSF is not going to pay the cloud bill forever. And just to get you oriented, if I rent a high-end NVIDIA system in AWS for 100 days, that costs about the same as buying it. Whereas if I buy it and operate it on-prem, I run it roughly for 6 years, typically. 6 years divided by 100 days, that's about 21.6, so let's call it 20. In other words, owning is a factor 20 cheaper than renting. And not just that owning is cheaper than renting, in this case, just generically, when you rent and run out of money, you become homeless. And whereas when you own and run out of money, you still have a roof over your head. In other words, many institutions, when they don't have money to replenish what they bought years ago, they just keep on running it and therefore stretch out their dollars longer. So what's the problem? Why isn't everybody owning? The problem is that operations is expensive unless it is amortized across a large scale. Of the over 4,000 accredited degree-granting higher education institutions, less than 200 are research intensive. So less than 200 institutes, less than 5% of the total number of colleges that educate these 20 million students have the scale in computing to afford sysadmins, cybersecurity, user support, blah, 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 professionals. And so by and large, so for the vast majority of colleges, this is totally unobtainable. To buy hardware, have system administrators, have cybersecurity people, have all of what you need in order to actually have AI for education. And so they would be forced into do this either in the cloud or not doing it at all. And so what I'm talking about here is, what if we aggregated the system administration and user support across 1,000 colleges in order to get the kind of scales where this becomes cheap and affordable for everybody? And that's ultimately what the project that I'm currently talking about in this talk is all about. I want to enable colleges across the country, no matter who they are, where they are, what they do.
It's approved. That one is by Ashley.
Oh, Joey, okay.
To own their own AI hardware. And in order to do this, we're centralizing the operations to have the same kind of economies of scale of operations that the cloud providers have. We're effectively running an AI for education cloud, or an AI education infrastructure cloud across the entire country. And so the long-term vision is to create an open national cyber infrastructure that is a fourth term among all these open terms that we're familiar with. We know about open science, open data, open source, software, and I'm advocating for open infrastructure that includes compute, storage, data access. This stands for content delivery networks, devices, instruments, IoT, the whole gambit, everything. And do it in such a way that the infrastructure is professionally run by a moderate-sized team, but it's run for everybody in the country and amortized, therefore, at scale, and therefore is dirt cheap to operate. And I'll tell you later what dirt cheap means. And we call this National Research Platform. And so what does NRP offer today? We offer today that we run your hardware from the console up. Basically, you're responsible for buying the hardware, and we can advise you on what to buy so that you don't get taken for a ride by the Dells of this world. And we can offer you access to what we already have deployed so that you can try out different kinds of hardware to figure out what is the best for your educational mission to pull this off. Basically, what's the cheapest that does the job? And therefore, allow you to be cost effective even in the purchasing. And then we take care of everything else: OS maintenance, security monitoring, even user support. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. The researchers, educators, and students then see a global scale Kubernetes cluster, or they see a Jupyter Hub infrastructure that we can either run for you, or that we can let you customize, and I'll show you an example in a moment, customize and brand for your own institution and have your Jupyter Hub on your hardware, but administered by us. And all of the software that is necessary to instantiate your Jupyter Hub for your faculty and your students on your hardware is administered by us, and we give you a template to get started. And we give you, and given that I am a firm believer in eat your own dog food, we operate one Jupyter Hub infrastructure for the entire community, for all those people who aren't yet ready to run their own, either because they haven't bought the hardware yet, or they have bought the hardware, but they're not ready to actually run the software and instantiate Jupyter Hub, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we basically run all of this ourselves for you, and we allow you to buy into it by buying your own hardware, and we administer everything from the bottom up. In addition, we maintain chat channels for the community so that you guys can learn from each other. We have one chat channel that is dedicated just for education, for basically the educators. The idea is that the educators should have a means to communicate with each other, learn from each other. How did you do this with your data science class or your Python class or whatever class you want to do, so that educators can share curriculum, can share experiences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we instantiate a chat channel for your class where you talk with your students, and your students can talk with you, exchange and ask questions, work with your TAs, da 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 da. So we don't support your students, you support your students in whichever way you want to support your student, and we provide you a chat channel infrastructure to do so. And then finally, we found that in order to AI education, a lot of people want to use LLMs and want to have a very entry-level AI education as prompt design, and basically familiarize students with what is this thing and how does it work, and have and do this with having an LLM inside their classroom as usable by the students. So we provide LLM as a service. We instantiate LLMs, basically anything that's publicly available on Hugging Face, we can instantiate for you. And that way, there's one LLM for your entire student body, all the students in your class, rather than having each student have their own. And we can do this in such a way that your LLM has your data that you want to use in this course, da 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 da. So there's some amount of additional customization support here. And then let me give you a sense of scale. Right now, the NRP is deployed across 84 geographic sites. And you can sort of, if you want to figure out whether your own institution is even on there, which it is entirely possible. I don't know who all the where you all come from, but if you go to this URL here, this is a live map that you can zoom into to your heart's content. And if you click on one of these flags, it actually shows you what the institution is that is that flag. And so if you want to walk yourself into this and check, is any of your neighboring institutions, any of your own institutions on there, this is the way to do this. A little bit on use. There were 63 campuses who used this in the last year. We have a fairly rapid growth. For example, as of January, so 6 months ago, this number was 72. So we've grown by more than 10% within the last 6 months. And we're expecting right now, of these 84 sites, about 50 are colleges. The rest are some museums and all kinds of things. A lot of POPs, basic network providers are in here. Last time I checked, we had 21 network point of presence among these 84 sites from 8 different network organizations. SOX, for example, in the Southern Crossroads has a presence on NRP. Now, I want to walk you a little. This is a two-dimensional log plot where it is the consumption in 2024 by these different institutions. Core hours on the x-axis, GPU hours on the y-axis. And I want to stress that there is a lot of non-R1s. CSU San Bernardino is not an R1. The San Diego Community College District is a bunch of community colleges. None of them is an R1. Then CSU Northridge is not an R1. So there's a fair number of non-R1s among this. Yeah. There's also a fair number of MSIs. All of the, and those are the assets that the red dots are MSIs. And for California, I've listed who is California institutions. And as you can see, San Bernardino is one of the highest users, the most advanced users of our infrastructure. So let me talk a little bit about who this is. CSU San Bernardino is in the, it covers the Imperial Valley in basically southeast of California. It's largely an agriculture, there's a lot of agriculture community in this area. It has 19,000 students and 57% of them are Pell Grant recipients. So it's nothing like your typical private school with lots of money. What does it look like from their perspective? They have their own branded Jupyter infrastructure that they run on NRP. They run a generic Jupyter hub for everybody that is used for teaching. And then they run on half a dozen other Jupyter hubs for their faculty, for different labs at their campus. And there's sort of a list here of the different labs, what they do. And they use, it's fully integrated with their own institutional logon. Basically, we built on In Common, and that means that if you use In Common for your own institutional logons that all of your students have an account in, then the accounts automatically exist on our infrastructure. And you can basically back into it with your institutional logon that everybody knows how to already use passwords and whatnot on your institution. Makes the threshold to jump across a lot easier. I promised that I'd show you a little bit. This is the example of UC San Diego. There is 9,000 students total use this, most of them undergrads. And the courses that were taught on this platform, and I'm showing them here by school, a large fraction of it is engineering. For probably obvious reasons, this is all the computer science folks. Basically, Python on introductory of Python is taught here, but also all of data science. All of the data science courses use this infrastructure. And then what is maybe interesting is and different is that the School of Social Sciences, for us, that includes psychology, cognitive science, political science, sociology, all that kind of stuff, is a very large user of education with computing in the classroom. We have a very strong focus on computational social science at UC San Diego. And so it shows that it's not just the STEM and the engineering folks, but also all kinds of other educational endeavors have included computing into the classroom. Let me talk a little bit about where we're at. I look at this as a three-phase deployment. In phase one is where we're at right now, where we're funded by the National Science Foundation to reach a scale of about 100 colleges and 10,000 students per year. Today, we have about 50 colleges, and I expect to see the kind of growth where the next 2 to 3 years, we will grow from 50 to 100 colleges supported. And your college can be one of these. And I'll have another slide where it says what the process could be to get there. I then expect a second phase where we will scale out from 100 colleges to 1,000 colleges and 1 million students a year. And these are rough numbers because when I go through my spreadsheet for the business model of this, I developed a business model that makes this sustainable long-term. And by the time I reach 1 million students, it's $8 a student per year to sustain it. And at $8 a student per year, that's in San Diego, that's a beer per year per student, basically. And fine. San Diego is an expensive place. Beer is actually $9 a pint in San Diego downtown. So at that scale of cost, I consider it affordable basically across the board. And at that, in the phase 2, in phase 1, we're a 9 to 5 shop. In phase 2, I'm assuming that we would be scaling out to 24 times 365, or at least 24/7 throughout the 9 months of the academic year, such that students have support even on Sunday evening when their homework assignment is due on midnight, and those kinds of things. Whereas the National Science Foundation supports only 9 to 5 during 5 days a week, basically, because research typically does not require uptime on the weekends necessarily. At least they're not paying for it. And I expect that by the time that we have reached that scale, we will be able to turn this into something like Internet 2, or maybe Internet 2 takes it over, where Internet 2, as well as most of the research and education networks, they're basically 501c3s, and they function based on membership fees. And if you had a membership fee of $8 a student per year, then you would actually be at 1 million students able to financially sustain this for the entire nation at 1,000 colleges. And given that the target audience is 4 to 10 million students, I think that we can actually build this in a way to make it sustainable without even having more than maybe a 10% and participation. Finally, how do we get there? Our strategy is that we exploit existing social networks to engage colleges. Me showing up here, from my perspective, is exploiting a social network. You're a social network that I want to introduce this to, and then you guys can decide whether this is something that you want to get engaged in. And most of the social networks that I build into is the regional research and education networks. Basically, I work with Scenic right now. We're reducing the total cost of ownership for compute and data infrastructure for colleges. We solve the AI education total cost of ownership pain point. And how would this work for possible next steps? You send us some of your faculty to try out. We hold a hands-on or we hold a hands-on tutorial for your faculty at a location of your choosing. We focus on showing your faculty how others use NRP to teach courses. Basically, we would bring with us people who have taught courses on NRP and can show you how it's done, and what kind of courses are being taught. If this resonates with your faculty, we reserve hardware for those faculty to teach courses on NRP. And then once your faculty want to scale out, we help you write grant proposals to get hardware to support your teaching mission. That's pretty much it. My last slide. Questions?
Thank you so much, Frank. That was a lot of great information. For everyone who's on the call, you can either come off mute if you have any questions, or if you would like to post them in the chat. We've got a little bit of time here for Frank to answer anything that might be lingering in your mind.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Frank, this is Mount from SF Jazz, and have a question in terms of how this process could most effectively support as you had mentioned, the non-science schools within a university, and how might, for instance, the TCUs and HBCUs best benefit from them? What advantages do you see in that?
So I can tell you how we're doing this right now in California. And I don't pretend that I know enough about the rest of the country that I would even hypothesize how this would roll out elsewhere in the country. And so the way that we're rolling this out in California, and actually in the Great Plains as well, we're working with the Great Plains Network, which is the regional network. If you think about your geography, start in North Dakota, go down with your finger on the map and go to the left, the right, to east, basically, there's 7 states in that is covered by the Great Plains Network. And then go to California, all of California is covered by scenic. In California, scenic serves all of the community colleges, all of K-12, public libraries, the state universities, and the UCs. All of them, basically every single institution of higher education that is supported by the state of California is supported by scenic. It's about 3 million students in total. And we're rolling this out there in collaboration with scenic, so that scenic guarantees that whoever wants to be part of this has the necessary networking infrastructure, so that we can go in there, help people show what they can buy. It is then up to the organizations themselves to figure out how to buy hardware. And then voila, we come operate this, and people are up and running. At the same time, it's obviously too high a lift to expect somebody to just buy a piece of hardware on the hunch that this might actually work. So what we're doing in reality is we help any and all colleges in California to teach their first course on hardware that we own. So in some cases, we've done this by simply shipping. Tom DeFanti has been to, I'd say, 20 colleges throughout California right now, and literally in the back of his car had a piece of hardware, drove there, installed it with them into their racks at their data center, and made it work, joined NRP, and voila, off we go. In the most aggressive case was the local San Diego Community College District. We met with them for the first time in 2024, I want to say February or so, for the first time, and just talked. By August, they had a piece of hardware in the data center, courtesy Tom and me. And by September, they taught their first course. And so this can go incredibly fast. But it depends a little bit on how your relationship is with your networking people in your region. Say, if you already are, let me pick on SOCs for lack of a better place to pick. If you're already connected with SOCs, in communication with SOCs, and they provide you network to your institution, it would be a very simple lift to bring you in. All that's required, we'd have to figure out what to buy from eBay. And full disclosure, these 9,000 students that I showed you earlier, they run on an infrastructure at UCSD that if you were to buy it today from eBay, would cost you less than $100,000 for 9,000 students. So this can be dirt cheap as a starter. And we can help you make those kinds of initial investments, and voila, or run on our infrastructure, either which way. Does that answer your question? You're muted, Mount. Yeah, you're still muted. I can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. As it relates, that does relate. That makes sense. Let me ask you though, as it relates to SOCs, if they develop the ability in their region, does that create some type of synergy that would have them be able to work more effectively with, let's say, California?
I think basically what we need SOCs for is to establish what's called a science DMZ.
Yeah.
And once you have a science DMZ on your campus, we take over, and we don't need SOCs anymore. So I just picked SOCs as an example because I can't help you get the network going. That's beyond scope for me. So I need somebody else, and typically it's a regional network provider to do that. Am I making sense?
Yes, but let me just one more shot at this. If both entities, if both regions have the capability of using the system, does that provide them any benefits in terms of collaborating with each other?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what we do is, education is a very interesting application for computing, because education, if you're in a classroom and you're trying to use computing in your classroom and it doesn't work, that's really not acceptable, right? If you're a researcher and you're trying to do something, it doesn't work, you go give it a coffee and come back in half an hour, it's fixed. So there's a very different level of requirement, and so that's why in education you at some level have to own long term. I can set aside, I can make you a reservation on hardware that I own, but I can't scale it out to the nation. I can't give 1 million students reservations on hardware that I own. I'm not that rich. And so it has to be somehow that people own their own.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Frank. And then we have one more question in the chat. So thanking you for your presentation. It says, I noticed that access to the platform seems to primarily be designed for Jupyter Hub workflows. Is there support for connecting through a remote VS Code setup or via SSH?
Basically, anything that you can do with a container, we can do. So if you have some other, we provide 2 interfaces: Jupyter, which tends to be the choice for most of our education folks, or kubectl. And kubectl is basically an interface that is Kubernetes native, where you can and instantiate a container, and anything that you can package in a container is fair game. Does that help? And then the third one is we've now started, actually, LLM as a service. We run a bunch of LLMs that you can then freely use to your own heart's content, so that you don't have to instantiate in a container your own LLMs. We're willing to. We work closely with a faculty who's been driving us. He has a 122 student course where he wanted to use LLM, and because he didn't want the students to learn how to code, he wanted them to learn how to use an LLM to learn how to code. And so that sort of brought us into the LLM space. And if something else comes around that somebody needs for their education, we're fairly flexible. We're happy to support services of all kinds. If it can fit into a container, it's fair game.
Wonderful.
We're good.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you.
other last minute thoughts or questions really quick before we transition?
If you want to, feel free to send me email. Let me actually put my email address in here somewhere. Where is that? Where is chat? Here. fkw@ucsd.edu. So if you want to get in touch, this is my email address. And unfortunately, I'm already 10 minutes late for my next meeting. Looking forward to working more with you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Frank. Really appreciate it. Okay, wonderful. All right, we are going to transition to the next part of our annual meeting, which is an overview of what's happening with students and some of the activities that are going on with the internship. So I'm going to now turn it over to Alexia Jones, our Senior Program Manager at MSCC, to talk through that.
Thanks, Netta. Thank you, Tenny. All right, well, good afternoon or good morning to you all. Again, my name is Alexia Jones. I'm the Senior Program Manager here at the MSCC. Next slide, please. And so today I'll be giving you all some updates about our 2025 undergraduate research program, and this will make our second program that we will be highlighting today. So, like I stated, this is our second undergraduate research program, and our host site is going to be this year, or is already, Fisk University in partnership with Meharry Medical College, located in Nashville, Tennessee. So our internship officially started as soon as our annual meeting ended. So we officially started June 2nd of this year, and it will conclude August 8th. While being in the internship, the students have received thus far airfare, housing, meals, as well as they will receive a $7,000 stipend per student during the duration of the 10 weeks that they're with us. For the first 2 weeks, it includes training and instruction at Fisk University, followed by 8 weeks of working on team-based research projects. The students also work closely and in person with faculty, mentors, graduate students, and scientific subject matter experts at Fisk University and Meharry Medical College. And they also have a great opportunity to participate in field trips, virtual group sessions amongst each other and their mentors, and have an opportunity to engage with other experts. So this year, we have in our program 14 students representing 10 HBCUs, a part of our program this summer. So I'll give you all a second to see what HBCUs those are. And so the students are working on some very interesting and interactive research projects thus far. The students are broken into 7 groups, and each group has 2 students a part of those groups, where they have mentors as well as graduate students supporting them with their research. Some of these research projects consist of predicting global temperature anomalies, deep learning for wild risk prediction, also evaluating climate change effects on agriculture yield using deep learning, and many more, as you see here, that we will get into later. But first, I want to just mention that although we know that cyber infrastructure and research is very important, one of the things that I want to say that we do a very good job of is making sure that we build our student community. And one of the ways that we've been able to do that is by setting group norms by using a platform called Padlet. And this platform allows for the students to have a safe space. Also, I want to mention that it's a very respectful place where they can grow amongst their peers, as well as share some of the things that they are experiencing and seek for encouragement, ask questions for guidance, and just look back on their overall journey. So we are in the weeds of our research right now. I cannot believe that we are already wrapping up week 4 and going into week 5, which is super exciting, but that means we're closer to the end than we expected. So right now, like I stated, we are in the weeds of our research. Project integration with technical reports are happening, CI facilitation, and local field trips are happening as well. The students are also going to be preparing in the next couple of weeks to go to a very, very special conference called the PERC 25 conference that will be located in Columbus, Ohio. I will make sure I put the link in the chat so you all can learn more about that, but that will take place July 20th through the 24th. And then they'll be wrapping up their final research projects and preparing their research for our symposium that will conclude August 6th. Like I stated, we have some upcoming events that they'll be taking part of, which are going to be professional development, networking opportunities, field trips, and also building those memorable experiences amongst their peers. So who's helping the students with this research wrap up outside of the mentors and graduate students? We have local Black codes that will be supporting a local resource called Black Codes that will be supporting the students, EASL, as well as they will be using Purdue's most powerful supercomputer, Anvil, to support and wrap up their research this summer. More to come on that. And then it's all going to be for this great symposium that will be August 6th. The symposium will take place at Fisk University, again, in partnership with Meharry Medical College. They will have the opportunity to present in their teams with their mentors and give us some feedback on exactly what research they've been conducting and how it has moved along, and also change their perspective on research. They'll be able to give us a visual, which will conclude with a poster board session. And then I want to also make sure that I note that we have a new initiative where we are doing a Student of the Week. We will start this, well, we started it this week, where we are highlighting our students and their success and experiences throughout the internship. So this week we are highlighting Justin Freeman and Chloe Banks. Justin is talking to us about some of his biggest takeaways so far in the first 4 weeks. And then Chloe telling us about why she even decided to apply to the internship. And then if you would like more updates about our student program, as well as to just know what the students are up to on a week-to-week, or see who we're spotlighting this week, I would advise for you to follow us on LinkedIn. And you can use the QR code here to get that information. And then I also just want to mention that if you all have any suggestions, questions, or would like to contribute to the overall success of our student program, please feel free to email me at ajones@internet2.edu. Thanks, Netta.
Thanks, Alexia. I'll just pause really quick. Any thoughts or questions regarding anything that Alexia covered or student engagement with MSCC?
Yeah, I wanted to share. I'm on campus with the students a lot, so and I see them. They're very energetic. You know, they're asking questions. You know, they're sharing their degree programs and their future plans. So, you know, everything that's going on is truly amazing. So I can see that firsthand being on campus a lot at Fisk. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no other questions right now, I am going to transition into the
Netta, I had one quick question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
When I'm in North Carolina Central, this is Brett Chambers. When will it open up again, and what kind of students are you looking for?
Great question, Brett. So when it will open up again, I will say to be determined, but the type of students that we are looking for would be students who have some technical understanding or some understanding of research as well. But right now we have a lot of, I would say, computer science majors, environmental science majors. It's a very diverse program, so I'm not going to limit anyone to anything, but I will say that if they have any of those backgrounds, any technical skills, it will be beneficial for them in this particular program.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And even though it's to be determined around what time of year?
I would say maybe September, October, but Anna, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Brett, thanks for the question. Our student program is going so well that I have no doubt that we're going to be doing more activities in this regard. So we just want to see this one through also, and please just be patient with us. But I have a good hunch that we will be continuing to build upon this great program.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts or questions for Alexia?
I've been working with Alexia for quite some time, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I think we're very happy to support the programs that she's putting out there. So the workshops and the REU program. So we've been part of that, and it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. And for your thoughts as well, David, just the support that we have from the community for these students. We all need to rally around them, right? So this is what we're doing to help. Wonderful. Okay. Well, again, we'll be sharing these slides afterward, and Alexia's contact information is posted as well. So if you have any thoughts, suggestions, please reach out. We really help build this with the community, so it's much appreciated. All right, so to wrap us up in the last few minutes, I just want to kind of give a high-level overview of annual meeting. I know several of you were there, and even if you weren't, again, we felt a lot of support from everyone in the community. It was such a success. This was our third one. It was my first year, and the energy was amazing. The speakers, the sessions, all of the topics were just fantastic. For those of you who are on the call who were there, you know, if you've got any feedback or thoughts that you want to share, post in the chat about your experience, please do so. But I'm going to go to the next slide here and just kind of do a quick wrap up. Okay, so we have a lot of photos. We're going to be working on some of the sessions were recorded. Those will be up on the website soon. But again, it was just the energy there was fantastic. So the website is linked here, and I would highly recommend that you go and check it out because it really was just great to have everyone come together and convene around really important topics for our campuses. And by the numbers, so we had a lot of representation. Of course, we want this to grow over time. I will be the person who is kind of leading annual meeting moving forward, but this is kind of the breakdown of who was there and who we had represented. So of course, again, we're always trying to diversify and increase these numbers, but we are really pleased with the turnout that we had. And again, like I said, we had a wide range of themes. They ranged from cybersecurity and security to AI in action, planetary resilience. Of course, like we just heard from Alexia, a big part was the student workforce and then the leadership and strategy. So it was a lot of information that came our way. If you want to go back and go through slides, those are also posted on the website. There is a lot to take in and, you know, kind of figure out what are the next action steps for all of us to disseminate this information and kind of integrate it into our campuses. So we'll be continuing the conversations, of course, but again, just really pleased with everywhere from the keynotes, the panels, all the Q&As and information. It is wonderful. And yeah, Brett, I see that you say you're still processing everything. Same, because it was just so wonderful. And it was a lot, but this was good. This was good to share. And then we'll figure out all of the pieces that we want to continue to touch on that are of importance for us. And we did send out a survey. These were some of the feedback that we got. We were really pleased. Came for the AI, did not disappoint. Everything was amazing. Again, lots and lots of information. Just a wonderful time for us to come together and care for each other. So, and that last one, we absolutely will be continuing this work. It will not stop. There's still a lot to do for this community. Now, we did have a survey that sent out. I'm sure you guys all got a couple of reminders, but there's still time. So again, as I'm kind of like sifting through this and planning for the next year, the QR code, and there's also a form link. We really would love your feedback and ideas and suggestions, even if you were not actually able to attend the annual meeting, but you've got thoughts and ideas about how we can improve or something that you would like to see for the next year for 2026. Please take the time to fill that out. It is really important. I promise you, I will be looking at it and carefully considering all of the feedback that we get in order to figure out what we want to do moving forward. So please, 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 if you have any opportunity and you have not already filled out the survey, we would really love to see some more responses there. And my contact information is here. So again, reach out via email, Slack. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm around. And again, I'm getting settled into my role here, but we'll be picking up annual meeting planning here in the coming months. I'll be figuring out a planning committee and we'll be thinking through what kind of programming we want to bring next year. So again, I welcome all feedback and suggestions. And that's kind of a wrap, but a round of applause to everybody who was there, who made this possible. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the attendees, all the planners. Like, you are the ones that really made this possible. So I very much appreciate it. And with that, the only other last plug that I will put in before we wrap up is that, again, these are monthly meetings. We always welcome suggestions or ideas for anything that you would like to discuss with the community during these calls, what resources, case studies, programs, all of that we can bring in. So please, 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 if you've got thoughts or ideas for other topics that we can share, I would recommend that you fill out this form link, and then we can reach out to you and have a conversation about what that looks like. And I'll also post it in the chat as well. Okay. Any last questions or thoughts before we wrap up for today? Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me MC this first all hands meeting. Thanks, Anna. And we will see you at the next one. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And we will be in touch soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.